Hi, Alegre from Ember Living, here today to talk about how to make your own laundry starch and why you'd want to begin with. First of all, laundry starch is fantastic in terms of making your clothes look really crisp and professional, and it also helps give body back to clothes that may have lost body over time. So for instance, my little daughter's little summer hats, they get really floppy after you've washed them a lot, but if I just spray a little starch on them and iron them, they're nice and crisp and they stay out of her eyes. Starching your clothes is also great because it helps keep your clothes cleaner. I have linen napkins that are years old, but you would never know it because I always starch them. And then when the food stains get on them, the starch actually acts as a barrier to keep the stains from getting on the fabric itself, so it washes out really easily. Now there's two ways you can make your own starch. One of the benefits of making your own starch is you can control how much starch you put on your clothing, but also then you're not having to dispose of this big aerosol can, which is how most starch is sold. So there's two ways you can apply starch. First is as a sprayer. What you want to do is you want to mix 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, this is just regular cornstarch that you buy at a grocery store, and 2 cups of cold water, and mix it up until it's really well blended, and then put it into a sprayer bottle. Make sure it's a good industrial strength sprayer bottle because some sprayer bottles, the nozzles will get clogged with use, and you want to give it a good shake every time you spray. And literally you'll just take your clothing or your napkin or whatever, just spray the starch on there, and then just run your iron over it. Now, one thing you'll have to do is you'll have to clean the bottom of your iron after use because starch will build up. And secondly, only make your starch right before you're going to use it because starch will go bad sitting in a sprayer bottle. The easier way to use starch, and the way I like to use it most often, is actually to add it to a rinse cycle. So for instance, if I'm washing my linen napkins or my husband's dress shirts, I'll wash them once, and then I will put them through on a second rinse cycle, and I will add starch into the machine at the rinse cycle. And when you're doing it that way, you want to add 2 tablespoons to half a cup of water, mix it up really good, and then just pour it in wherever your rinse cycle goes in. And that way you can avoid streaking. When you spray on starch, if you're not careful, it can leave starch streaks, especially on colored fabric. On white fabric, it won't matter because starch turns white. But if you want to avoid those starchy streaks, just add it into your rinse cycle, and then you can wash your clothes in the rinse cycle and iron them up, and they'll be nice and starched and crisp, and you won't have any of those streaks. So for more tips like these, visit my website, emberliving.com.